Malarndirri, starting with you, hundreds of Indigenous people have contracted COVID since mid-June, mainly in New South Wales's west and far west. I know you've been very concerned about this. There is now, a really concerted effort to try and lift those vaccination rates. But the government's been saying a lot of it is also vaccine hesitancy. Do you accept that there's high rates of vaccine hesitancy in some of these communities?
Well, the question really has to be about what is the government doing to counteract some of the negative messaging, PK, that we're seeing across social media that is deterring people, and not just First Nations people, but many Australians. And we don't see that counteraction occurring as quickly and immediately as it should. And it doesn't help, it doesn't assist. The second thing, PK, is that there needs to be translation into Aboriginal languages. The Department of Health federally has translated 6 Aboriginal languages for the COVID messaging, yet 13 languages for the cashless debit card messaging. So the question is, what is the priority of the government? Clearly we need far more communication. As you know, PK, we've got over 100 Aboriginal languages here in the Northern Territory, and of the 6 that have been translated, only 2 are from here.
Yeah, well, look, there are a lot of Aboriginal languages spoken in this country, and many of them are first languages for so many people. Trent Zimmerman, the government's dropped the ball here, right? This is a federal government responsibility. There is no doubt about it. Vaccine hesitancy might be the case, but isn't it the government's job to know it exists and to address it?
Well, at the end of the day, the vaccines are mandatory, but of course we've got to try and convince people to take the vaccine, and we've been doing that across the country. And in relation to Indigenous communities, look, I wouldn't claim to be an expert in the same way that Malarndirri is, but I heard Ken Wyatt talking about it, and he thought that the 2 principal issues were a bit of hesitancy, and some of that related to misinformation, but also the problem we've seen in other parts of the country where COVID's not present, that the sense of urgency that comes for getting the vaccine has clearly been most very tangibly driven by outbreaks occurring, and obviously New South Wales reflects that today.
Malarndirri, obviously the rates of vaccination are really different across the country. Children, not all children can get vaccinated. If you're 12 and above, you will be able to, but there are still delays about when that can happen. Do you think we should just accept that the story is going to be different in every state and territory, and we should, accept that there's really not going to be a national approach to this?
Well, I do think that what needs to be focused on, PK, and I can't stress it enough, is communication. I really do think this is an incredible failing of the federal government if it just focused on the fact that it's not communicating as well as it could in this space. And we are an English-speaking country, but English is not the only language here. And I think a lot of Australians probably find that a bit difficult to comprehend. And I sincerely put it out there to the ministers who are listening to this, that you must communicate the message, even about 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds. Here in the Northern Territory, we've already started vaccinating 12-year-olds. We've already talked about the schools and involving the Department of Education and the schooling system. And again, that is important in terms of communication. So I can't stress enough how communication is vital.